Well, good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see all of you here this morning. I'm Mark McClish. Hi. This is my team, Megan Letson, Sarah Aldrich, and Molly Albin. And we're very happy to be here this morning to tell you about Auxiliary Science. Auxiliary Science is a small, nonprofit organization that's dedicated to applied science and research and development. Basically, what we do is we take scientific principles and scientific concepts, things that you would learn in a classroom or from our own research, and we try to develop them into a project that has some application in the real world. We figure out things that we have interest in, and we try to figure out a way to make them useful. Now, this sounds like a little bit like it's just a hobby club for nerds, and in a way it is, I'll admit. But auxiliary science is important because it's a small-scale proof of why applied science is important. And it shows a very good example of the value of all the different kinds of science and all the different branches of science. And it demonstrates the application that the things that we're learning in a classroom has. The people who work in our team also get valuable experience and insight as they're working on their own projects. And we're always looking to grow. We're always looking to improve and find different ways that we can make our organization better and make better things and make the whole world better, hopefully. People who work with us, everyone is free to choose their own projects. You can, if you were a member, you could choose what you want to study, what you want to work on, and you can make your own project, define your own assignment, as long as it's expected to have some value and make the world a better place on whatever scale. Even if it seems insignificant, if it makes the world better, then you can do it. And you can have the resources and work with a team and do whatever you want to do, make the difference that you think that you should make. Some of the projects that we've already worked on so far, the first that I want to tell you about are aggressive growers. Now, if you're from the South, which probably almost all of you are, you probably hear the word kudzu and a little shiver runs up your spine because kudzu is terrible. Kudzu is an example of an aggressive grower, and in our lab we've cultivated some aggressive growers. An example of that is mint. This is regular mint and sweet mint. And an aggressive grower is called such not because it will be mean to you, but because you can do almost anything to it and it's very, very resilient. You can cut it up, you can cut pieces of it off, you can try and drown it, which doesn't really work with plants, but you can do whatever you want and it will still keep growing. Mint will fill a container that it's in and grow as big as it possibly can, and it will spread and spread until you do something to stop it. The next project that we worked on was cultivating Elodea. Elodea is a water plant. It's very similar to a vine, kind of like an underwater vine. And it's very often used in biology labs because it's very visible under a microscope and you can study plant cells very easily. Elodea, when paired in a container with water snails, tiny little water snails, make a cycle. They make a very small and simple ecosystem. The snails leave various products that the plants use as food, and they produce carbon dioxide. The plant takes the products of the snails and the carbon dioxide and produces a food source for the snails and oxygen for the snails to breathe. The next thing that I want to tell you about is tardigrades, also known as water bears. Tardigrades are a very interesting microscopic animal. They're commonly known as the most durable animals in the animal kingdom because of an ability called cryptobiosis. In times of great stress, the tardigrade can drain all of the water out of its body, which allows it to survive things like extreme heat, like the heat of a volcano, or extreme radiation, extreme saltiness, and even the vacuum of space in some cases. Because of this, tardigrades have been found all over the world. But the largest project that we've worked on so far is the Crystal Project that you can see examples of right here. Oh, that got louder. The beginning of auxiliary science was one day I was in my general chemistry class and we were talking about saturation. The idea with saturation is you can take something like sugar, which is a solute, and you can dissolve it in something like water, which is a solvent. And there comes a point where you keep on pouring sugar into the water, but you can't dissolve anymore. and at that point the solution is saturated. But you can heat up the water, and then you can pour more sugar in. And then if you cool that back down, then it's supersaturated. And if a solution is supersaturated, and if it's sugar water and it's supersaturated, and you put some more sugar in, then crystals will start to grow around that sugar that you added. They will come out of solution and start growing on top of each other and multiplying. And when I heard about that, I was really interested in it, and I wanted to apply it to the real world. So I went and asked my teacher for some help, the esteemed Dr. Davis, and since then, we've made a lot of progress. The first crystals that we grew so aggressively and so intensely that they actually split their beakers in half. Since then, through a lot of playing around with the ratios and the different ingredients that we put in the solution, we've been able to grow crystals in a more condensed pattern and in a more flexible container. And also, what we do with these crystals, after we don't need them, we make them into little crystal pendants, and we sell them to get, not for profit, but to fund our research and projects. And we've even gone so far as to get one of the boutiques to have our crystals in their stock on Main Street. But the largest project that we've come up with so far is one that's coming up next year, and Megan Letson is going to tell you about that.
Can you go to the next slide? All right. Our largest project is going to be a greenhouse, but it's not going to be your grandma's greenhouse. It's going to be the most beautiful greenhouse you've ever seen in your life. And we plan to apply for an ELI grant, which is the Engaged Learning Initiative. You've probably heard about it recently. It's unique to Freed Hardeman, and it's brand new this year. But our greenhouse is going to be a biosphere. And a biosphere is a controlled greenhouse, which means that we will be able to control all of the variables that could affect our projects. We can control temperature, humidity, and in some cases, different types of radiation that can come off of the sun. It's going to be constructed of PVC pipe and a very thick plastic sheeting, which means it's going to be cheap to make, it's going to be durable, and it's going to be easy to repair and quick to build. So, yeah, that's the shape. But we also have future plans. That's a really fun idea of how we plan to power this greenhouse. We have a potato-based electrical system that we want to start building, but we can't do that until we have somewhere to work. So that's fun, potato and wires. This greenhouse will be for faculty and student use. So many of you, if you're a science major, you know that a lot of our professors have research going on that could benefit from use of a greenhouse. They test bacteria that affect plants, but they have no plants to put the bacteria on. And we could fix that. But research projects that would benefit auxiliary science include hydroponics, viewed here on the screen. This is vertical hydroponics, and hydroponics is a means of growing large amounts of food that is more efficient and takes up less space. And I want to learn to do this. Another that is really close to me that I'm really interested in, it's my personal project in the group, is clover cultivation. This is commonly known as white clover, but its scientific name is Trifolium repens. And I want to take the gene that causes the four-leaf clover and give it to the entire colony of clover so that the entire patch is four leaves. That just sounds like fun. But also there's a toxin found in clover that in large amounts can kill humans and animals. But clover is also full of nutrition and protein. So if you could remove the toxin, you could grow clover as a food source in places where other plants normally wouldn't. And our last project that would really benefit from a greenhouse, and we're super excited about, is tree grafting. This is where you take two different species or types of trees and you cut them and grow them in a way in which it becomes one plant. Here we have a picture of a plant in which they grafted several different types of peaches onto one tree. So that means that when that tree produces fruit, it produces multiple types of peaches. And that's a basic diagram of different types of tree grafting. Those are all of our projects that I'm going to talk about. Mark?
The rest of the time that we have here is going to be reserved for question and answer. So if you have any questions, let us know. Oh, okay. Him? Yes.
How far would you like to expand this, at least as far as a campus, on the campus, how far would you see this going in the future and maybe expanding into something bigger or
It's a great question.
large?
As far as possible, we would be happy if auxiliary science continued after we were gone. Molly is a year younger than the rest of us, so she would be in charge of auxiliary science after we graduate, and we're happy to include anyone of any major who's interested in something like this.
Where are you going to put your greenhouse?
Well, the location that we have in mind is on a flat area that's sort of in between Sewell Hall and Anderson Science Center. So that would have a good location because it would be close to the biggest science building, and it would also be far away from any boys' dorms so they wouldn't throw rocks.
Like the last one.
Yes.
With all the storm activity and stuff that we have, a PVC and plastic greenhouse will hold under those conditions?
The way the greenhouse is designed, can you go back to the basic structure? The next one. That one. Okay. Each of these points, there's going to be a pillar that's going to be attached to a concrete base. And so because of the aerodynamics of this structure, it's going to be weighted to the ground. It would actually take a lot to pull it up out.
We're also, West Tennessee, we don't get snow, we get ice. Will it hold under that too?
It should.
Well, it's flexible.
This isn't just normal plastic and stuff that would be under it. This is plastic that's specifically designed for greenhouse use. And so it's designed to withstand hail, ice, snow, and still keep everything nice and toasty inside.
It's a good question.
It would just think to get that far ahead and then have it kind of wiped out.
Yeah, it would.
And safety, weather protection.
Mm-hmm. Amanda?
It's not a question, but a comment. I really enjoyed that you included in your aggressive growers section mint, because I'm currently growing a mint plant, and it's amazing how much like the Greek hydra it is, that like you can cut
Go back to
off
our
these
mint.
huge vines and then they just grow right back.
Actually, if you noticed in our picture, our mint were just snippings that were growing in water inside a test tube. That's it. That's all the mint needed,
Yes.
was water and sunlight. Not even a lot of sunlight, because we only had like 2 little windows in our lab.
Which is not so good with kudzu, but good for mint because you can use it in things like tea, and people like peppermint oil and things like that.
Yeah. Rachel?
How many different projects do you think you'll be able to run in auxiliary science? Do you think that will expand as hopefully this program will expand?
Yes,
Yes.
we will organize things as needed. If somebody new comes in and wants to do their own project and nobody else is available, then they would have to do it by themselves, but we'll see what teams we can organize as people have different ideas.
And anyone who had a project would have the support of all of us, even if it's something that's way out of our field. Mark has a physics project that he's been working on that he's going to have to redesign, but I don't like physics. I'm a biologist through and through, but he still has my support when my sarcastic comments to go with it.
Thank
so,
Nick?
Just what's the chance of possibly getting hands on like genetic modification techniques such as like, I don't know, maybe CRISPR or stuff like that?
all
Do
right.
you want a realistic answer or a hopeful answer?
Somewhere between.
Okay, in all honesty, I would love to be able to do it now, but CRISPR technology and all of that is very expensive. But I can learn everything else that I need to know. My Clover project is actually more likely to be my dissertation in grad school than right now. But I can start thinking about it right now. And I can start learning a lot of the basics for botany and genetics and general biology that I need to know in order to get there. Just like kind of jump ahead of everyone because it's something I'm interested in. That's the point of auxiliary science.
All right, I'm afraid that's all the time that we have for today. Please feel free to take one of our cards as you exit, and thank you for coming.